Here in Asheville, North Carolina, it's semifinal Sunday of the 2018 Southern Conference Men's Tournament. Getting ready for our first game, the 5th-seeded Wofford Terriers against the regular season champion, Uncg Spartans. Let's show you how we've arrived at this point. Our bracket presented by Ingalls, and the Spartans taking on the Citadel. Uncg led by just 1 at the half on Saturday, but pulled away to the win. Wofford denied Mercer, a team they had lost to just 6 days earlier. And so the Terriers now getting ready to battle Uncg in our first game here in the U.S. Cellular Center. And welcome aboard with Dean Keener, Pete Hannity with you. A Wofford team that certainly showed a lot of intensity in knocking off Mercer in Saturday's ball game. Well, they lost twice this year to Uncg. They're going to try to turn it up and avoid the sweep. And they're going to turn to a guy who was Mr. Intensity for them yesterday, their big man, Cam Jackson.
Cam Jackson was fantastic yesterday. 18 and 10 against Mercer, where he was the best player on the floor. But he's going to have to do it now. He's going to have his hands full against this Uncg group that goes 3 deep on the front line. It's led by James Dickey. Boy, the 6'10 sophomore is the next star in this league. He can do a little bit of everything, as evidenced by 13 points, 10 rebounds yesterday against Citadel. Oh, by the way, he added 4 assists and 2 blocks for good measure.
Dickey, the Socon Defensive Player of the Year, although he doesn't lead their team in steals. That designation belongs to a guard, Isaiah Miller, who had 45. Let's give you our building blocks for the ball game. They're presented by General Shale.
For the Terriers, they've got to play inside out. Look, they need to be balanced on offense, and as good as their perimeter play is, and it is very good, they need to play inside first and then go out. For Uncg, they need to be equal. That is, they've got the goods to win this tournament, but they simply need to do what they do best tonight, and that is share the ball on offense and play total team defense at the other end.
Now let's bring in the third member of our crew. We go courtside to Stormy Bonatoni. Stormy?
Thanks, Pete. When Wofford Jr. Fletcher McGee didn't have his typical McGee for 3 performance last night, Nathan Hoover and Cameron Jackson really came alive to carry the group offensively. And head coach of the Terriers, Mike Young, said he's really fortunate to have a team that has so many difference makers and a couple of guys that can really shoot the leather off it. McGee told me it's significant because you can't just key on him and shut him down. They're too multi-dimensional. Now, Uncg did sweep the Terriers, but fun fact, Wofford has not lost to an opponent 3 times in the same year since 2008 against Davidson, when Steph Curry was in his junior year with the Wildcats.
That's a long time ago, so the Terriers, with a great note from Stormy there, will try to not get swept. Going to work, feeding Francis Alonso, facing a Wofford team that has Jackson and McGee, and Nathan Hoover comes off a big game against Mercer, and we've got an early foul called against the Terriers.
Well, we've got some interesting matchups as you see the starting lineups.
And Uncg with the X-Factor kind of guy at the top of that list, Marvin Smith, the senior from Richmond, Virginia. During the season, he only combined for 12 points against the Terriers, but he can get you inside and outside at a 6'8" frame, and a guy who can do a lot of things athletically.
Both teams primarily half-court man-to-man.
And from downtown, Francis Alonso, who during the season had 6 3-pointers made apiece in the games against Wofford, 12 combined, and he strikes for the Spartans at the outset. Murphy, pretty layup by Storm Murphy, the freshman point guard, and Wofford's on the board. I think I did a pretty good job in the Mercer-Wofford game yesterday of not confusing my Storm with my Stormy, and we're going to continue to try the same here this afternoon. Dickey inside, Kuiper, and taken by the Terriers Jackson.
He's got to make some baskets and keep the defense honest and focused on him.
Jackson, jumper inside the arc, he'll get the bounce and the roll, so Cameron Jackson lost the ball. Here is Troy with a runner and a little floater for Demetrius Troy, who in the ball game on Saturday and their victory against the Citadel had that big game with 14 points. Here's Smith out high. And the ball run down by Collins, battled for by McGee, tapped to Smith, and Marvin at the basket. To the way, and that's what happens when you got a guy with length. You just can't pass it by him. Miller down the lane, and he tried to dunk it, followed by Collins, who puts it up and in. And the Asheville, North Carolina native, playing in the arena in his hometown, has a chance at a 3-point play. Hoover thought about the 3, Frankie Bordeaux, Bruce Benedict, Gary Maxwell are officials, and that is just the second made three-pointer by the Wofford Terriers. Storm Murphy knocks it down, and the Terriers now 2 out of 11 beyond the arc, and they can look at that number and say the game is tied despite that.
That's always been our philosophy.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stormy. Mike Young in the foreground. Richard Johnson, the Wofford athletic director, and, well, he's the guy that Mike Young worked under when he was an assistant for the Terriers. Richard Johnson, the longtime coach who took the Terriers from D2 up to D1, and now Mike Young has made them a force on the D1 mid-major level and here in the Socon. Now that guy right there, he's really got a bubbly personality, trust us, Richard Johnson, and he's got to be happy inside that Cam Jackson and the Terriers are holding their own and then some against the defending regular season champs. A 1-point Wofford lead at the break. UNCG trying to get back to the title game for a second straight year, but they've got a hungry dog in their way. And that threesome right there, each with 2 fouls apiece, so some big bodies colliding, but no whistle. Murphy. Storm Murphy's brought the offense. He averages just 6.1 a game. He's their distributor, but Murphy leading all scorers in the game, the first player to double figures with 10 points. Murphy, the step back. Storm Murphy. He has been the guy hitting from downtown of late for the Wofford Terriers. Murphy on the season, a 40% three-point shooter, puts Wofford back in front.
Ross Cummings for about 30 minutes yesterday. You wonder, is that fatigue a factor at Fletcher Magee?
Troy for 2, and he wiggles it home, and Demetrius Troy, first player in double figures for UNCG with 10. He comes into the ball game averaging just 7.2. Magee. Top 2 scorers in the league. Game on. Under 3.5 to play here in Asheville. They knocked off Georgia Tech in early December. They had 2 ACC wins in the month of December. Shot clock coming up on 15. Pretty much a make-or-break moment right here for Alonzo for 3 over Magee. 1-point lead for UNCG. And the 6'6" Marvin Smith, who plays like he's about 6'8", 6'9", defending the inbound man. Magee gets it into Jackson. Clock is at 10. Magee, a fadeaway from 2, off the rim. Magee, the rebound, fires with 5, no good. Rebound tipped out high. Murphy gonna go for the win, no good. 3 times Wofford had a chance to take a lead, and UNCG denies them. And the Spartans survive against the Wofford Terriers from Spartanburg. A valiant effort on both sides, a thrilling semifinal game, and a 1-point triumph for UNCG, their 3rd win in as many tries this season against the Wofford Terriers.
2 absolutely terrific basketball teams. It had everything you wanted. Great players, star power, terrific coaches. You'd expect it to come down to Francis Alonso hitting a 3 and Fletcher Magee getting a couple of shots that just didn't go.
Dean Keener, I will say this. You will not find a conference tournament game anywhere in the country any better than the one we just witnessed.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that was as good as you could have asked for, especially for a game in the 50s, right? 56, 55. Your heart sinks for the Wofford Terriers. You hate that somebody had to lose it, but you got to applaud UNCG. They hung in there when they were down, and with 20 seconds to go, Francis Alonso just steps up in the face of an outstretched Fletcher Magee arm, knocks it down. Clearly, the Geico play of the game.
So Alonso able to deliver, and Fletcher Magee came oh so close, not once, but twice for the Wofford Terriers. And well, for UNCG, their fans who have about a 3-hour or so drive, obviously pick your speed limit, maybe 2-hour or so drive from Greensboro and the Triad over here to Western North Carolina and Asheville. They'll stay another night, or those who couldn't make the trip on a Sunday will certainly make their way here for the title game tomorrow night. That final flurry of attempts by the Wofford Terriers. Magee, his looks were good, and Storm Murphy had been hitting 3s in this game and simply could not deliver what would have been the decisive blow.
I don't think if you're a Wofford fan that you would want the ball in anybody else's hands down the stretch. Magee with 2 shots, Murphy with 1. They just didn't go. Again, you just can't say enough about these teams, these 2 programs. They were both dialed in, Neither wobbled at any time. They just hung in there. You knew it'd come down to the last shot. You got to applaud the Spartans.
Wofford 21-12, Uncg 26-7, a new program record for wins by Wes Miller and his team. We invite you to stay tuned. Coming up at 6:30 Eastern Time, ETSU and Furman. It's going to be a heck of a ball game as well. For Dean Keener and Stormy Bonatoni, Pete Hannity saying so long from Asheville. This has been a presentation of ESPN.